Hello and welcome back to Marvel Puzzle Quest with me, P.I. McLeod, and we're here at day 4222. It's very ironic that there's a free Peni Parker cover just a couple days from now, and it's the week where she gets her first Crash the Titans ever. It is against the Lady Octopus. Lady Ock is a pretty darn new Marvel Puzzle Quest character. She came in, last year? She's very new to the game. Her green is key to how she puts out damage passively, and also her defense, and how you can mitigate it. Her green, when it's at 5, does its best damage output. Per tentacle tile on the board, she'll do extra damage. Because of her green, she has a set amount of damage she ignores. It's kind of like having a protect tile just always on just her all the time. That's actually enough to make a big difference though in this fight, because Peni Parker doesn't put out like giant damage. The fact that Lady Octopus has this green, that has this constant damage dampener, we'll call it that, it makes it really hard to punch through. Well, if she gets 3 or more tentacles out on the board, her defense halves. So if she had 600 extra protection on the board, and then she gets 3 or more tentacles out, now it's down to 300. It's a little easier to punch through. I'm not saying that you should let her cast all the greens she wants, but if she did get 3 tentacles out there, I mean, just take it and roll with it. In fact, save your red, black, and blue powers, and when she casts enough green to get 3 tentacles out there, then unleash them all. But that's just my vision. And it's also cheap. It's like only 4 green, and she can cast this and get it out there, get it rolling. But it's not a ton of damage output. You can get around it. You can. Put some defense on, get a support on there to help you. You can get around this. Her blue is more notable than you might think. Her blue makes a countdown tile, and as long as that countdown tile exists out there, it actually ups her passive defense by 55% or something like that. And then it also ups her damage output by the same amount. So she puts out more damage with all those tentacles out there, and she takes less damage incoming just because that blue countdown exists. Don't let that happen. Besides, you need all the blue you can get to cast those stuns of Penny. This is purple. It puts down a countdown. And I'm just recalling, if I remember correctly, that countdown, and I'll probably have to check when we get into the fight. I want to say every turn it puts out more strike, attack, protect tiles, and every turn it exists on the board that does some sort of combination of the value of strike, attack, protects that are out on the board. When we get into the fight, I'll pull it up real quick and we'll read it for ourselves. Peni Parker doesn't have a green or a purple power. You're not going to be aiming for those. I don't blame you for taking them if you see a nice chunk of green or purple you don't want her to have. You need to aim for the blue. The blue is important. Penny needs a stunner, and then her other colors are red and black. So you're going to be busy with your own colors, and that's where part of this challenge comes in. Let's get to it. Peni Parker, we have the chroma skin on, this golden week one. I'm going to keep it on because I can. Peni Parker is not the best character in the game for sure. I'm calling it what it is. I'm just not impressed by her kit. But let's start off at the best one. Experimental webbing. You might think to yourself, Pi, if it's the best one, why is it only at level 3? What are you doing there? Hold up there. I'll let you see. For 7 blue, I'll even put this up to 5 so you can see this, right? For 7 blue, stun the target for 4 turns. Create a 5-turn experimental web countdown tile that stuns the target for an additional turn. If the experimental webbing is used on a different target, you remove any experimental webbing tiles targeting the original target. In other words, the stun happens. The stun is not based on the countdown. The stun is independent of the countdown you create. The 5-turn experimental webbing countdown, it stuns the target for an additional turn once it goes off. So it's just a 1-turn stun. When it goes off, it does 1 more turn of stun. That's it. If you cast this though, you switch enemies. You okay, I'm hitting MPQ, and I experimental webbing him. Bam, and then you flip over to fight Chasm. And you cast experimental webbing on him. Bam! All of a sudden, the other experimental webbing goes away, Even though M'Baku stays stunned, the stun is independent of the countdown. But now you have Chasm stunned as well. Somehow you had 14 blue for this. But only one webbing tile stayed on the board, and it's pointing at Chasm. Passive. For each friendly experimental webbing tile on the board, this ability's cost is reduced by 1, down to a minimum of 3. You might be like, well, how does it get lowered if you're removing them when you cast it? It expects you to cast this power repeatedly on the same person. You stunned them for 4 turns, and yet it expects you to cast another 7 blue on the same person for another 4-turn stun. It doesn't add on turns of stun, it just resets the timer back to 4. So if it took you 2 turns, it's on 2 turns left of stun on that M'Baku, and you're like, let's do it again. It doesn't bring it up to 6. No, it just resets the counter back up to 4. But, I mean, I guess that casting of experimental webbing, that second one on M'Baku, would cost only 6, assuming the experimental webbing tile is still on the board. There's a reason for these tiles. Why do I have it at 3? Well, look what it does. Stuns the target for 2 turns. Creates a 5-turn experimental webbing tile. That's the difference. Now, you can tell yourself, and I won't deny you, that 4 turns of stun is better than 2 turns of stun. But I know that her other powers kind of suck. We want them to do as much damage as possible. And having them do their best damage output is probably in our best favor. Here's her red. Let's see. Hits keep coming. 7 red. She deals damage plus 35% damage for each experimental webbing tile targeting the enemy. So this is where if you can experimental web one person over and over again, building up those tiles, 35% more, 35% more, 35% more would come in handy, right? There's no cap on this. Of course, there's only so much blue AP in the world, but you know, you can make this pretty beefy. If I lower this down to 3, it does 2,278 at my level, plus 18% damage for each experimental webbing tile targeting the enemy. My logic here is that 35% is almost double 18% more damage. I'm not going to get multiple experimental webbing casts off on one person often. It costs 7. And if I want to do it again, that's 6. And assuming that experimental webbing tile stays out, and now it costs 5. This is assuming you get all that blue AP. Are you really going to find all that blue AP on a one-on-one fight? Nah. Shoot, you're lucky you find it on a 3-on-3 fight. Now maybe you have a blue AP engine like Bishop or Beta Ray Bill or someone that's giving you blue AP hand over fist. But even then, is this your grand plan? You're using Peni Parker to do experimental web stuns, and that's your grand plan for victory? I feel like you have better ways to abuse AP engines. But, you know, have fun. If you found a fun Peni Parker abuse, go for it. Shoot, tag me in it. Make a short and tag me in it. I would love to see it. Seriously, that'd be really cool. But I'll bring this down to 3 for 18% and do 2,278. 18% more of that? Nah. 4,500 with 35% more damage. That's a good chunk more. I only need 1 tile to get that 35% to buff it up a decent amount. For 7 red, I'd rather take that amount of damage over that amount of damage, assuming I only get 1 webbing tile out. Watch, the game's going to curse me now, like give me a ton of blue and I'll get like 7 web tiles out and they'll be like, oh, look, Pa, you should have did it. Anyways. And then finally there's 10-ton slam. 6 black. Kind of like this one. This is her second place power in my opinion. Some people don't like it as much because you hurt some of your teammates with it. Deals damage to the target plus extra damage, a smaller amount, for 2 other enemies. For each friendly experimental webbing tile on the board, deal additional damage to all possible targets, including allies. Now that additional damage is pretty much just a little less than half of the extra damage you're doing to the other enemies. If I lower this down to 3, it deals just a little over $1,000 in damage, at least for my version of Peni, right? To the target, less than $1,000 of damage to the other enemies, and for each experimental webbing tile on the board, you deal a piddly less than 500 damage to all possible targets, including allies. No, I'm just going to crank this up to 5, get as much damage as I can out of this, as much team damage as I can out of it, and if there just so happens to be experimental webbing out there on the board, I'm not going to take that much, and they're going to take a little more extra. Not a big deal. This experimental webbing tile lasts 5 turns no matter what level I have it at. I'm just going to put it down to 3. 2 turn stun is going to be enough. If I get the red and the black off, I'm already doing enough damage output to try to outpace the enemy. But we got to remember, we're going against Lady Octopus. She's going to have that defense in place. She has defenses built in, and that's going to be annoying. So the rule is, in my head, you wait till you get her experimental webbing, and then you let all your powers out. I think that's the best way to play her, because why would you cast her red and black when she's up and running and has her defense on? Stun her first, and then let your full damage powers come out. Okay? Here we go. Lady Octopus versus Peni Parker. Ready? No support this time. Fight. Dang. They're just like, oh, hey Penny, you want to have a bunch of green? I see the black match 5. Hold your horses. Let's take care of it this way first. I'll take that match 5 first. And then I can take this big old fat match, whatever that is. 7? Dang, that was a lot. See how much damage we've done to her already? Not a lot. It's a couple hundred. Why is it only a couple hundred? You want to see that green? That defense? Carolyn takes about 500 less damage. That's crazy. If there are at least 3 friendly tentacle tiles on the board, this ability becomes and more dangerous. But this passive says she takes 247 less damage. So yeah, have that defense. Let her get those tentacles out. If she gets them out, who cares? Now you can hit her harder, right? And it took me a good couple of crit shots there to only deal 300 damage to her. What do we want? We want red or blue? Probably blue. We want the stun. We don't want her to crit us. She's not going to take both crits, is she? She could. Let's risk it. We're going to risk it for the biscuit. Let's go. Look at the damage, though. She didn't do it either. She's like, I don't want that. I'll take this blue. Thank you very much. We have enough to stun. Let's make sure we get the red up and rolling. We want to, see everything, right? We have 3 red. We need 6 to cast it, right? Oh, 7. My mistake. Well, that's what this other crit's here for. Oh, I could take a match 4 blue, though. Nah, we'll just do this. Now we can take the blue. We can't pass up that much blue, okay? No, let's just take it out. We could stun and we could roll it. We might as well, right? Well, let's find out. Blue time, experimental webbing. Whamp. Got webbed. Now she's stunned for 2 whole turns. Everything's full strength over here, right? So let's start with the 10-ton slam. Boom. Okay, I'll take that little bit of damage. What was that, 600 damage? But I gave her almost 4 grand. Let's do it. Let's hit that red. The hits keep coming. Boom. Oh man, was that enough for you? Boom. Don't need the stun at level 5. Do the other powers. Do the other colors. But Pi, you got lucky with the AP you generated. I probably did. I'm not going to lie. That was a good amount of cascades there in the beginning. I had 2 nice 5s that were lined up. Let's see what the next one does for me, right? We can't be that lucky twice, can we? I stand by that the stun at 5 is not worth it. I think people see a longer stun and gravitate towards it, and I can't blame you. A longer stun means the enemy's at your mercy for longer, obviously. But that damage percentage output on the red and black makes it so much more valuable. You could do so much more damage by having 2-turn stun than you would with a 4-turn stun. I mean, again, unless you had like a crazy blue AP generator and you had a ton of web tiles stacked on somebody, I don't see it. If you were using Peni Parker and she was under-leveled for any reason, don't forget your supports. I know plenty of people that don't have a champed Peni because obvious reasons, am I right? Don't sleep on your supports. Arrow's Arrow is amazing. And no, you don't have to have it at level 250, 5th ranked for this to work. All you need is that very first rank. The higher the better, of course, though. But, you know, just that first rank. If one doesn't exist at the end of the turn, makes a love struck tile targeting a random enemy. It's a one-on-one. Who do you think it's going to be? Love struck enemy does, at this rank, 80% reduced damage while this tile exists. Now, of course, lower ranks is lower percent, but it is percent damage reduction. It's a bunch of reduction. It's really good at lower ranks too. Use it, abuse it if it helps you get through it. Rank 3 and higher does even more stuff. You know, when enemies do like match 4s, you get free AP. There's other things that come into play here. It's a really good one. It can help you punch through and play the long game and just win through attrition. I also like to point out that Lady Octopus is a villain, and I say that because there he is, Korg. Korg has this little perk here at rank 2. Supported character deals extra damage to villains. That's nice, right? You can just throw that on them. Deal just extra damage to villains all the time. Also, your health gets boosted. That's cool. I don't care about the yellow AP. The base yellow match damage going up isn't bad. I wouldn't sniff at that, but, you know, the rest of the stuff's nice. Extra damage to villains, extra health increase. That might help you punch through some of that defense she has. Of course, you could always throw on a Taskmaster Sword, but this does extra damage to heroes. Lady Ock doesn't count as that. Characters' powers deal additional damage to enemies. That's just only for your powers. So you'd have to fire the red or the blue to get that effect, right? The Korg does it for, well, everything. It's just match damage to villains. So, food for thought, right? I'm just going to go back in there and do it again. Maybe I had a lucky cascade. Let's see how this works. I'm going to heal her up, make it fair. Ready, set, go. Do I want that black? That purple match 4 is kind of tempting. I don't want her to get all that purple. I feel like a good way to go about this is just to do this. If I take this red right here, it breaks up that match 4 and it gives her another match 4 purple. I swear, life just finds a way, right? I guess I'll take this black and the red combo. Kind of surprised she didn't take the purple down low. It was looking mighty nice. I'll take this top blue. She might take the bottom one. Go ahead, get those tentacles out there. I haven't seen you cast anything yet. Let's go. Oh, she took my blue. I'll take the other blue. I'll take it actually with a combo. Let's go like this green into blue. There we go. I don't like that. I don't like that we just gave her a match 4 purple again here. But what are you going to do, right? Need one more red and some black. I guess we'll do that, right? Here's the VR wave generator. It reminds me of the Annihilus's negative zone for some reason. It's something to do with the animation. I don't know. Too bad they have nothing to do with each other. I think it'd be fun if they did somehow. No reason, just because. Do I take the yellow and the... Ugh, I guess I will. Just for the combo. Just checked. Mine was 544, which according to Pi was hard mode with no support. Hard mode? I didn't say it was hard mode. I just don't like the AP economics. I do not. Nope. Sure, you have more time to gather the AP. I'm not going to front you that. That's a very solid assessment. I haven't needed the time. I'd rather just kick her butt and say goodnight. Ooh, but I have enough blue to do a double web. Let's see how much this does now. Oh, she got the 3-turn stun on me. Well, that's fun. Let's see how this plays out. Ooh. I'm anticipating what is this? What's gonna happen? Come on, Lady Ock, let's see it. That's all you got? Oh, that's cute. Okay. So, experimental webbing. We got to do that again, right? Because obviously this ability is so good. Yes, I'm being snarky. Okay, we got 2 of them out there on the board. Let's hit that 10 ton. Boom. Ooh, that's a lot more damage. 4,500 to her. If she had teammates, they'd feel it. 35% damage for each experimental webbing on the board. I don't know if I've ever had 2 webbings out at one point before, because asking me to spend 13 blue on one person, that's a lot of damage. That's pretty darn cool. I'm not saying she's good, but if we're gonna do something, that's a way to do it. That's stupid attack tile. Taking my animation time. I just need 3 more blue, 3 more black. Let's get it. And we're just gonna stomp on her one more time. There we go. Good times. I took some damage there. She did her stun. She tried. Good job, Lady Ock. You put a good college effort in there. Woohoo! But we're done. That's 2 legendary tokens. Good stuff. That is Peni Parker's Crashes of the Titan. If you have any trouble with it, need any help, any suggestions, drop me a line, throw me a comment. Do it on Reddit, on Twitch, on Discord. Shoot, find me on Xbox. The name is the same everywhere. Look for P.I. McLeod. I'll be happy to look through. You just got to tell me your in-game name and what alliance you're with, and I can search you up. We can talk. We can figure it out. I appreciate all the support as always. I'll see you guys really, really soon. Later, everybody. Good night.